I've heard you contrast what I would call two different ways of approaching life. One way I think you characterize as manipulation, trying to control everything and make things come out the way you want them. And the other way is what I might call living in the now. I think the way you put it is let things happen and respond to them. Mm-hmm. And most of my life, I was a firm believer in the first way, trying to make things come out a certain way and trying so hard and all. And the results weren't that great. But I would say over the last year or so, I started operating the other way, and I was astonished at the results, because even though I really wasn't trying, it just seemed like life was organizing itself to fulfill my needs in a way that I couldn't possibly have controlled or made turn out if that had been my intention. And just to give an example, I went through a period where all of a sudden my workload went down at work, and I was wondering what's going on, what's happening. I talked to my boss, and then I had to deal with some major issues in my personal life. And that were quite time-consuming, and I was so grateful I could take time off and address them. And it seemed no sooner had I finished resolving these personal issues, all of a sudden my workload came up. And if I tried to engineer that, I couldn't have done that in any conceivable way. Yet I had the sense the whole time that there was this kind of benign intelligence that was kind of, in some ways, directing by not directing things. And things were just spontaneously happening in my life to facilitate my well-being. And it was an awesome experience. I wonder if you could give me your reaction.
Sure, that is just the way it works. As much as you try to force the world to be the way you want it, that's how hard the world struggles to be some other way. It just is like that. I often have the metaphor of trying to stuff too many clothes in a suitcase. If you ever had more things to put in a suitcase than the suitcase would hold, and you try, and so you lift it up a little crack and you stuff something in, but something else falls out on the other side. And then you try to get that in and something else falls out over here, and you just keep trying to get it the way you want it, but it just doesn't ever seem to work. And the harder you work at it, the worse it gets. Well, that's the way life is if you approach it through control. And control, I mean, you try to arrange life, you try to manipulate things in your life so that they come out the way you know is best. Okay, that's you trying to manipulate the world to be the way you want it. And when you do that, it's because you want to control it. You want to control things. And you want to control things because if things are out of control, they might happen in a way that you don't want, in a way that you wouldn't want to see it. So you want to control your world. That often comes from the basic fear of not being in control, or that's called a fear of the unknown, things happening outside of your control. You get a fear of the unknown. If I don't make it come out this way, it might come out horribly. If I don't work on this problem, we may be overrun by robots in the future. So something that you.
Quit kicking the dog while he's
So the more you do that, the more frustration you build because it just won't work. The world will just not agree with you. And if you just need this one thing to happen, it's that one thing just won't happen. Everything would be all right if. And most of the time, there's some reason why that if doesn't fall into place. Or if it does fall into place, and you sit back and go, all right, I got it now. Within 2 or 3 weeks, something else will occur. And if you get over that hurdle, something else will occur. And your life will be just a series of hurdles for you to get over that you have to, struggle over all the time. If I just get over this hurdle, it'll be all downhill from now on and everything will work great. And it doesn't ever work out that way. Only for a few weeks, and then the next hurdle comes up. That's you trying to manipulate life to be the way you want it. Actually, it's the way you think you want it. It's the way your intellect has decided it needs to be. The magic is that when you give that up and you stop trying to manipulate, you let everybody just be the way they are, make the choices they make without trying to make sure they're better choices. You just live it. You interact with it and make sure that the choices you make, your own choices, are the best choices you can make. Then magic happens. Suddenly, there were hurdles, and the hurdles all fall over. As you walk up to a hurdle, and here's this hurdle, and you get to the hurdle, and you don't even have to jump. It falls over. You walk to the next hurdle, and it falls over. And it's like life seems to be working out in the strangest ways, such that everything you need is right there just as you need it. Like the time off from work. It's just there just when you need it. And just when you don't need it, it goes away. And you find then all your life from then on will be that way, as long as you just try to make your best choices, let everybody make their own choices, let stuff happen, deal with it. How you deal with it determines on how well you evolve or de-evolve. It's that quality of that dealing with it is what's important, not what happens. Now, that doesn't mean that you entirely forget that you're in a world with other people. You still have to pay your mortgage on time. You still have to put gas in the car and do things. Yes, you still need that, but you don't have to manipulate events and people to come out the way you want. You just let that go. And when something does happen, well, a hurdle pops up in front of you, it's okay. You just deal with it however you can, and you just go on. You accept it. You don't get upset with it. Oh no, I didn't want that. It just happens and you go on. Well, your life becomes magic. And the other end of this is a thing they call synchronicity, which is where things just happen just as you need them, just when you want them. And you go from nothing ever happens to me. I don't have any synchronicity. The only things that are synchronicity to me are the things that get in my way. I got new hurdles to get over. But you'll go to that to just the opposite. There are no hurdles anymore. Everything just works well. And I got to that point, I don't know, sometime probably in the late 20s, early 30s, where I realized that when you don't try to control anything, you don't have to control anything. It all just works out. Everything really works out. You'll be driving home and something will happen. There'll be somebody trying to cross the street with a big cart full of apples or something, and everybody's stopped and you're in this 50-car jam and it takes you 15 minutes to get through. And then when you get home, you'll find out that just up ahead, 15 minutes further along on the road, there was this huge accident and 8 people got killed. There was a terrible thing happen. And you'd have been right in the middle of that if it hadn't been for that guy with his apple cart that held you back. And your life just goes on that way. Every day, all day long, things fall out just when you need them. And in general, part of that is that the system is trying to tell you, yes, this is what happens when you stop trying to control, when you start trying to manipulate. If you just be and grow, this is what happens. So some of it's the system, and some of it's the way you redefine things. Because now what you would have seen as a terrible hurdle, oh no, now look, you no longer care that much about it. You say, oh yeah, it's a problem. So, not a big deal. I'll deal with it. And you go right by it. So sometimes it's just things are arranged for you, and other times it's your own attitude that you no longer have that thing that's out of control, or that thing that's unknown doesn't frighten you anymore. Well, yeah, all right, I don't know how that'll work out, but it'll work out all right. It'll happen. So it's some of both of those. The system is is kind of tuning your life to be successful and for things to work out, but at the same time, you're no longer reacting to things like you used to react to things. You know, problems are not, they're not so big and scary anymore. You just walk up to them and say, yeah, okay, not a big deal, that'll work out. And you step right over that hurdle and keep right on walking, whereas before, it's, no, look at that. How could that happen? How could you do that? You know, and you're all upset and a big huff about it, and it's a big deal, and your feelings, of course, affect everybody else, and now you've made everything worse, whereas if it's not a big deal, then it just adjusts. So you are not the center of the universe. You're not the master of the universe, and your life will be much better the sooner you learn that, right? That you're just one of the people walking around here, and it's best to let other people be who they are, and you be who you are, do the best you can, and then after that, life is good. Life is good.